The term push-out refers to punitive school discipline policies and practices that lead to school suspension and push students away from their right to an education. We know this disproportionately affects students of color, students with disabilities, but under-discussed is the effect on Black girls. Nationally, we have a lot going on as it relates to school suspensions. K-12 students receive 2.8 million one or more out-of-school suspensions. As we see here, students of color are overrepresented compared to their enrollment, and Black girls are the only group of girls nationally that are disproportionately suspended across US schools. Red flag. So, there's an impact we have to consider. You know, some say, do the crime, pay the time. But I'm here to offer that suspensions are not only given for misbehavior, and the practice has significant academic, social, and behavioral outcomes. I know the intent is for students to learn a lesson, but lifelong impacts shouldn't be one of them. Again, why Black girls? We know that this trend starts as early as preschool, right? We're talking about 3 years out of the womb that they're already disproportionately suspended. And we also know that Black girls are suspended at a higher rate than Black girls, and that rate is bigger than the gap between Black boys and white boys. So one of the factors influencing these outcomes are bias, and unlike girls of other races, Black girls tend to be disciplined for subjective violations. For example, dress code violations, disobedience, disruptive behavior, and even wearing hair like I do. So again, another impact is inequitable policies. The Let Her Learn campaign found that girls are at an increased risk for school suspensions for defending their bodies from harassment. In one school I worked at, I found that students who were tardy to school were more likely to be suspended. Talk about mixed messages. Also, there are unclear words and language in discipline policies. So for example, disrupt, willful, disobedience. If I asked each of you a definition of disobedience, we'd likely come up with different definitions. And the problem is, that's where bias starts to take place. So as I've been thinking about this work, my colleagues and I have been looking at the relationship as well between adverse childhood experiences and discipline outcomes. Adversities refer to an array of adversities such as child abuse and neglect, and what we know is that they are associated with negative behavioral outcomes. So, schools have been on top of this because we know that 2/3 of children under 16 have experienced at least one adversity, and so schools have been using trauma-informed care. Very important. However, just as the precursors to these adversities are not neutral, our interventions themselves cannot be and must also account for systemic oppression. What we see that there's starting to be legal precedents for this type of work, and in Peter P. et al. Versus Compton, defendants are alleged to have subjected impacted students to punitive and counterproductive suspensions, expulsions, and referrals to law enforcement. So we suggest that educators be aware and practitioners be aware of what trauma symptomology looks like. This may not look like the same in each student, but training is necessary at the intersectional level. Otherwise, what we're doing is punishing trauma. Again, taking a deeper look at this work, my colleagues and I have been thinking about the disciplinary gaze. And what we found is that students with ACEs are more likely to get a call home for problem behaviors at school. But what we found is students of color with 4 or more ACEs were more likely to get a call home than their white counterparts with those same amount of ACEs. So let's bring this back to Black girls in the state of Tennessee. What we know is their risks for school suspensions are significant. Single out-of-school suspensions, they have a 4.22% risk, and down to arrest, where they are 2.28 times more likely to be arrested at school. Now, we can situate this information within school suspensions across Tennessee for Black girls compared to all other girls, and we see their ACEs, and what we see here is that out of the 9 ACEs we utilize in this data set, they're overrepresented in out of 7 out of those 9 ACEs. Now, I'm not presenting something causal here, but read between the lines, right? There's work that needs to be done, and I'm really proud of our schools that are implementing multi-tiered interventions such as these, that are focusing on relationship building, getting to know students, using trauma-informed interventions. But again, oftentimes they're done without considering race, racism, sexism, and gender bias. So in a publication that I put forward, I called practitioners into reflexive thinking, something we espouse in social work. And one of the questions that I have asked educators to ask themselves is, do we reward trauma-related resilience and punish maladaptive trauma coping? So to move from there, there is great work out there being done, and I'm happy to be partnering with Define Design to begin evaluating the Fly Girl program, Forever Loving Yourself. And this program is specifically focused on uplifting and supporting the wellness of Black girls, and they have been successful in reducing suspensions. My job is to understand specifically what's going on. But there's other work that can be done. We know that in Ayanna Pressley in Massachusetts, Congresswoman, was able to put forward a bill to begin to talk about push out. But even in the city of Pittsburgh, they have declared September Black Girl Equity Month. This means the city is calling attention to the problem. But you can also do this on social media, hashtag this and that. You may have heard of Black Girls Magic, Black Girls Rock, See the Best in Me. These are all examples of racial micro-affirmations to help girls navigate systems that may be against them. But finally, what I say is we need to recenter what it means for wellness for Black girls. They are the only group of girls disproportionately suspended across the country. And that's problematic, and we need to consider what it means to uplift their voice, normalize their range of emotion, cultivate their leadership, and even look towards the greatness of becoming a next Supreme Court Justice. Thank you.